Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking the difference between grad schemes, grad jobs, apprenticeships and internships because it is confusing. But firstly, why is this important? Well, it's important because we're in a candidate-rich job market. So what that means is there's super high employer expectations and there's fierce competition. Many grads are applying to dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of schemes and jobs each cycle, which makes understanding the different routes so important to using your time and your energy wisely. We're going to cover the salary, the benefits, the outlooks, and what might be the best option for you. So let's get into it. Firstly, graduate jobs. These are kind of seen as your traditional route. They're generally a full-time role and they typically require a uni degree. You apply for a specific position, interview, and if you're successful, you start contributing right away. They're usually permanent, they're open for applications all year round, and they don't really have structured training. It's sort of learn on the job. Many people go down this route because it's flexible, it's often easier to secure than a grad scheme, and it gets you started working now rather than waiting for a fixed intake cycle. In comparison, grad schemes, sometimes called graduate training or rotational programs, are structured programs. They're usually about 1 to 3 years, and they're designed to develop you into future leaders or specialists in a field. So key features here, applications are often open at set times and it's usually the autumn before the next year starts. They involve structured training, mentoring, and usually rotations across different departments in our firm, so you'll see all the different aspects. They usually are a fixed term contract with potential for future hiring through that company. So while graduate jobs probably will involve some training, it's very different and it's not as formal or structured. And graduate schemes tend to be more competitive with much longer application processes, including tests and assessment centres. I would say if you want structured growth, regular feedback and exposure to lots of different areas of a business, a graduate scheme is the way to go. But if you'd prefer to specialise right away or you want more flexibility, a grad job might be a better fit. The next pathway is an internship. So internships are temporary work placements. They can be paid, unpaid, and they're usually aimed at students or grads, and they're designed to give practical experience in a particular industry. These can typically last anywhere from a few weeks all the way up until a year, and quite often these big employers run them during summer. The focus is on learning and exposure, so not guaranteed employment afterwards, although we'll get onto that. I would say try and get internships if you can, especially if you're still exploring industries and you want experience before committing into a full-time role. Many employers use interns as a talent pipeline, so interns can convert into full-time, but there's no guarantee. Another common route is apprenticeships. So apprenticeships are paid jobs basically with built-in training programs, and usually it leads to some sort of nationally recognised qualification. They last from about 1 to 4 years, and there's many different types of them. They often combine classroom learning with real hands-on work. In the UK, there's many different types and levels, including higher and degree apprenticeship. The latter can be equivalent to a bachelor's or a master's degree by the time you finish. Some of the key features here are obviously on-the-job learning. You're getting some sort of qualification with no tuition fees, and often at the end of an apprenticeship, you've got a guaranteed job. Apprenticeships are a huge, fast-growing area right now, especially higher or degree apprenticeships. And that's because you are learning, you're getting paid, you're getting experience, and you're getting a job out of it, which in this jobs market is a blessing. Let's just do a really quick recap of all of the 4 different things we've talked about. So, grad jobs. You start in a specific area, learn on the job, and you grow as the company needs you. Graduate schemes. You have a structured learning program, often with rotations, mentoring, and training milestones. Internships, short-term work experience with a focus on learning, CV building, and exposure, but no guarantee of a job. Apprenticeships, long-term employment with formal training and qualifications, usually paid and job-linked. So now we know what they all are, let's move on to salaries. So honestly, I had such a hard time researching this because I realised there is so much data out there and it all says different things and it's not entirely clear what's what, why it's different. So I've gone with a 2025 November Uni of Bristol study for this. So let's go through the data for some starting salaries. So for a grad role, the national median is 28,000 starting salary. And for grad scheme, The median is often higher, with averages from 30 to 35,000 starting salary. Although if you're going into a sector like law or investment banking, the starting salary is likely to be much higher than that. Now, with apprenticeships, the salary in your first year will be pretty low, minimum wage for apprenticeships. But that does begin to ramp up with experience and age. I would say watch this space because the government are investing quite heavily into apprenticeships right now. And so minimum wage and starting salaries will probably look quite different in the coming few years. Internships are quite a tricky one. The salaries wildly vary, so I'm a bit hesitant to even say a number, but it'll likely be from minimum wage or unpaid up to about 40k. Again, that's just going to be dependent on location, type of internship, size of the company you're going for, and of course your age and your experience.
Hi, side note, if you're looking for more stats and information on this, I'm going to add some links down below, which hopefully are helpful to you specifically for extra information on apprenticeships.
So now that I've chucked a bunch of information at you, how are you meant to choose which one? Because to me, all of them sound pretty good if you can get them. So I will firstly say there's no best option. You can definitely go between the different types as you please over time. And the choice really depends on you. I would say it depends on your learning style. Do you want structured training or do you want to learn by doing? Your timeline, are you ready for a full-time job now? Or do you want to build some experience first and decide what you really like? Your career goals also, do you want depth in one area or do you want breadth across different types of roles? And also your financial situation. Apprenticeships can reduce debt. You're not going to get your student loan. And it can also provide salary while you learn. So that could be a route for you. Many people start with internships and then they move into a grad job and then they realize, hold on, not really sure if this is what I want to do. So they'll go to a grad scheme. And once you've built up that experience beforehand, it's going to be so much easier to get a grad scheme. You might also want to factor in how tricky it is to get onto these schemes or these jobs. So to paint a picture, graduate schemes are known for being really, really competitive. They're competitive because they're structured and they come with lots of development opportunities, and also just because they recruit from one fixed cycle, usually per year. Employers running graduate schemes might receive hundreds, if not thousands, of applications for one graduate vacancy. I think surveys have reported an average of 140 applications for one spot, which is the highest in 20 years. It really doesn't mean they're impossible to get, they are just competitive by design. Grad jobs, on the other hand, are slightly less competitive because they're hired on a rolling basis across many industries, and they don't have the same assessment centre bottlenecks as grad schemes do. Apprenticeships are still competitive and they attract lots of interest, but companies seem to be increasing their intake and also increasing their intake from a much broader pool of candidates, so over 25s and people from non-traditional backgrounds. Internships, as I'm sure you know, are very competitive, and that's just due to high volume of applicants. Everyone wants an internship on their CV, it seems, and that's probably also because they're often a gateway into full-time roles. For example, in some sectors like consulting or finance, more than 60% of interns go on to have full-time positions at the company. So I'm not trying to scare you, but bottom line is early career opportunities are highly competitive, as I'm sure you know if you're watching this. But try not to be discouraged because they are competitive, not impossible. And there is 100% things that everyone can be doing to increase their chances.
For example, to get that head start, I would be looking at our CV templates and our Get Ready to Apply bucket as a whole, and also your interview preparation, so Ace Your Interview bucket, and that's going to prepare you and increase your chances of success.
So my final takeaway, and something I hope you take away as well, is all of these paths can lead to fulfilling careers. There's not one better option, it just depends on you and how you want to do it. None are inherently better. Understanding the structure, expectation, and outcome of each puts you in the position to make a choice with confidence and to keep your career moving forward with purpose. If you have any questions on this topic, let me know, and I hope this is helpful.